Hello, all. I'm really excited to have Susan Kinsella with us today. My name is Rachel Jones, and I am a sales coach for service and software businesses. And Susan and I go way back. We have known each other for several years in the nonprofit space. And Susan, you have a new venture that I'm really excited to be talking to you about today.
Thanks, Rachel. Yes, I'm working with an organization called Journey to Hope as the CEO. And Journey to Hope has been around for just over 20 years and very exciting opportunities for a lot of different individuals. We offer educational and support groups for folks that have maybe hit a rough patch, who in our lives hasn't hit a rough patch, right? But we offer grief groups, we offer job search groups. Currently, we have a caregiving group going. We're getting ready to do a grief yoga journey class, which we're really excited about. We're going to start a online journaling group for folks that want to do some online journaling and maybe get some tips about that. We're going to have a gratitude group in probably in October, November. And just a lot of opportunities for people in the community, regardless of their ability to pay to participate. And we just really want to provide support to the people in our community, as well as reach beyond that, because we have the capability now to do our presentations online. And I say presentations, we're much more interactive than that. It's more, when we say group, that's what it is. We're all together in a group, and there is a lot of interaction with it.
Now, is there a particular demographic you serve with that? Is it everybody? Is it a certain segment?
We do have, our demographic tends to lead towards individuals that are maybe 40 and over. We are trying to expand that and make younger people aware of our offerings, because we have some things that we feel like they would be terribly interested in, of course, and just reach as many people across the age range as possible. We want input from the community because we want to know what kinds of things people would like to be involved with. In addition to the groups that run for consecutive weeks, we're going to start some groups that are going to be more along the lines of a one-off, just a one-day program that maybe runs 2 or 3 hours, but it'll be a program like, do you want to come and paint and work with an artist, a local artist that has offered his services. We're really excited about that. But there are mental health benefits to painting, to any hobby that you pick up. And just the idea of building a community, I think, in looking at my career, I have seen a lot of different things that we can offer, a lot of different options for different ages. I think we'll probably work strictly with adults for the time being, but we'd love to get into working with families and working with children, but that's probably an on down the road.
Okay. Now, I know a little bit about your journey to getting to this space, but what inspired you initially to work in the nonprofit world? Because we know that you have to have a fairly big heart to make that a choosing. And what kind of got you into that initially?
I get asked that question a fair amount when I'm talking about what I do for a living. And I think it just goes back to the fact that I was blessed with wonderful parents who were so compassionate and would do things for their neighbor, and they lived that. And I think seeing that and really, not only being taught, but seeing it in action has really, it just had a huge impact on me. And I was always the kid who brought home the strays. I always brought home the animals that, the smallest animal in the litter or the sickest animal in the litter, and would nurse them back to health. So my parents thought for sure I would be in a helping career of some kind, but I think they probably thought maybe a vet. But I just, as I got older, decided that, I had so much from love and support from my parents, and I just really would like to see other people have that kind of support and have that kind of sense of community where you are accepted and loved, and people believe you can do anything. And so I think that's really what led me to this career. So.
And then what specifically was it about Journey to Hope that drew you to be in a leadership position there?
Journey to Hope offers so many different things to so many different people. But one thing that really attracted me when I was looking for a position is that it connects people. And I feel like through the pandemic, we all got so disconnected. And that we're just as a general rule, people are having trouble reconnecting. You know, some people have no desire to reconnect. Some people just have a lack of interest or lack of knowledge about what's available. So this is a chance to connect with others. You know, maybe they're in a similar situation. One thing that I think really was attractive to me is that the majority of our groups, if not all, are run by folks who have experienced what they're leading a group for. So if you've got a grief group, you have a leader who has experienced grief, and then you're walking side by side with people instead of, you know, in a therapy situation where you're, you know, it's just a different role. And we walk the walk. You know, the folks know what they're talking about through personal experience. And I think that just makes a tremendous difference.
Mm-hmm. Now, what are some of the key challenges in the greater Cincinnati area that you are seeing in the community that you're addressing with Journey to Hope?
Well, I think the area of town that we are in, there is a immigration population that we're learning more about. Groups from Nepal have been coming over and are staying in the area. And so I think looking at, you know, the differences between dealing with immigrant population and potentially what their needs are, their, you know, is it English as a second language classes that we need to offer? Is it classes on, you know, or groups on how to get your children enrolled in school and where to shop, and, you know, what is it that we can offer? So that's one area in the community that we're really going to focus on. And another area is, again, we want feedback from folks to see what they're interested in. Mm-hmm. There are so many people that we're connected with in so many different ways that have expertise in areas, and we're going to really rely on that area. You know, our friends that are artists, our friends that are genealogists. I mean, we're really going to look for things that catch folks' interest and really motivate them to get out of the house and interact with somebody and really feel connected again. So I think that's the biggest need that we're trying to meet.
Now, I know that you mentioned the grief groups, and there was a few other ones. What if somebody's getting involved with one of these? I'm assuming they don't have to have just experienced this. It could be something that they've been dealing with for a while. You've mentioned since COVID. And I was talking to somebody the other day about how grief is an interesting journey of you can be totally fine, and then all of a sudden a song comes on, and then you're like, oh, you're right back in it. So outside of the grief groups, like, what part of people's journey are you noticing that the people are wanting to join in on your programming?
You know, it's along the path. People are definitely in different parts of the journey because grief is it's a lifelong experience for many folks. That you know, if you love and have lost, then you know you're part of a group that you don't really want to be a part of. But along that way, you find people that, depending on, you know, sometimes it can be as fresh as though it just happened last month, or it happened 6 years ago and I'm still struggling with this. We are looking at potentially having a group on finances for folks who have lost a spouse, because so many people struggle with that kind of situation. I mean, that is a real opportunity to provide some services to people that can be really beneficial in their daily life. So I feel like we have just a really great breadth of knowledge to draw from. But as far as where they are in the journey, it varies so much. It really does.
And how long has Journey to Hope been around?
It's been around over 20 years and has been on it resides in a building right by Northminster Presbyterian, and was originally started as a mission of the church. So it has a great history, a lot of community ties, and still very involved with the church. And they're very good neighbors, I will say. So
Well, it's nice to have those neighbors.
Yes.
It's actually funny because I think I met a few folks from Journey to Hope maybe about a year ago, and I don't think you even knew it until you had announced your job. And it was kind of fun to see that comes full circle to me because I definitely could see you fitting in that organization really well. Um, Now, you mentioned working with different artists and folks like that. What do you see those people that are wanting to volunteer their time or be a part of your organization? What type of things are you thinking that they would come to you with?
Really, I don't know that we would be limited. We haven't reached our limit of what we would consider at this point. We've got some folks who, we've got artists, again, that are interested, different kinds of artists. And if there is really, when you think about a hobby, something that you do for pleasure, I crochet. So I have this mad passion for yarn, and it is very therapeutic to be involved in doing something that you love and doing something productive. You hope at the end that it turns out the right way. But so I don't really know that there's anything that we wouldn't consider. I mean, we've talked about a lot of different things, and it's just a matter of capacity. We'd love to offer groups every day, but having folks come and have the time to be able to volunteer, that's something that we always will struggle with, or always have struggled with. We're going to resolve that struggle.
And that's great that you give it to people that finances might be a struggle, because a good therapy group or something like, if somebody wants to go to a therapist, a lot of times you have to either wait on insurance, wait on a waiting list. You have to see if you can afford somebody who is private pay. And so having access to something that is a group that kind of is not going to be financially restrictive for folks, I think that is a really big need that you're addressing.
Yes, and we don't want anyone to feel like they can't come. Whether a group costs $15 for participants or whether it costs $5, our groups are very reasonably priced, but, still reasonably priced is not always in the budget. So, I've certainly lived that experience myself, so I can sympathize. It's something that we want to make sure is available to anybody that is interested, and not let that be a stumbling block.
And so you've mentioned grief, you mentioned finances. Is there any other programming? I know you mentioned a little bit earlier, but that we're missing covering.
I think our caregiving program and our chronic pain program, those are two programs that have been pretty long-standing. And anytime we introduce a group for those two groups, we tend to have a really good response. The chronic pain group, we have a group that's been meeting for years now. So the caregiving group, we've expanded and have started another group because there's just such a demand for it. And I think we could probably offer a grief support group year-round. We don't typically, but it is something that I think would be a very worthwhile thing for us to move towards in the future.
With the caregiving, is it typically people who are caregiving to, an elderly parent, to a child, to what capacity?
To an elderly parent, typically that's what we see in the majority of groups. We do have someone that's involved that has a chronically ill child. So, it offers a bit of respite and support when you think of how restrictive your daily life can be because you're giving care to someone else. And you want to be able to do that, but it is something that has its challenges. And we want to recognize that and appreciate it and find ways to kind of deal with the stress that comes along with that.
Yeah. And then the chronic pain one was interesting to me because I have a disability that does involve chronic pain. And so one of the things that I think is not people look at me and think I'm totally normal, right? And I think that's where a lot of people that have those type of issues are the shoes that they're in. And even to doctors, sometimes it's difficult for them to fully communicate to doctors and get their needs met. So it's nice that there is a safe space where you can come and people are experiencing like things. So I think that that's a fantastic option.
We talk often about the invisible backpack with chronic pain. It's what you can't see. Yeah. And it's a unique issue and definitely needs to be recognized and supported because there is a lot that goes along with that.
Yeah. Now, I know you have a fundraiser coming up in October, the Galloween Masquerade Ball, which I'm excited about. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit more about that and what people can do to participate?
Sure. We have a little bit of information on our website, but we also, what we'll be doing is at the Women's Club, Cincinnati Women's Club, we will have our Galloween masquerade ball, and we ask that you can dress the part. You can come in a perfectly masquerade gown and be prepared to have a really great evening, or you can dress a little more casual, but it really is open to everyone. And we will have silent auction packages. We'll have lots of raffles, an award presentation for to recognize some community members that have made significant contributions, and not speaking strictly financially, of course, but who have made real contributions to Journey to Hope and the growth of the program. And light food, drinks. It'll just be a really enjoyable evening. It's on October 26th from 6 to 10. So great.
I'll ask her to link that information in the show notes. And you've talked a lot about the different programs, but can you share maybe an impact story on how this shifted somebody's life when they've worked with Journey for Hope?
Sure. We have an employment search program. So folks, maybe they haven't got a job currently, maybe they know their job is going to be ending, or they just have a job they're completely satisfied with, but just want to kind of brush up on some skills. And so we've offered this course pretty regularly for the past few years. And we had a woman that participated, and she brought her son with her, who was a recent college graduate. And the two of them took the class together, and then they would go home and they would, work on their homework, so to speak, and they would really hold each other accountable. And that's really what a lot of the program is involved. It really involves accountability and really owning up to the good things that you want to brag about to potential employers, and just really giving confidence. And what I found to be really neat about their story is that they're both gainfully employed. He had not gotten a job out of college, so this was a real boost for him. Mm-hmm. But when they talk about the confidence that it gave them, and I think that's so true, having gone through job search recently myself, the confidence of walking into a room and feeling like, yes, this is a job I can do, and how you put that forward. And that made a real impact for both of them. And the fact that it was mother and son, I just thought that was really cute. And that can be, bring your adult children, bring your husband, you can find a program that you will like at Journey to Hope. I feel very confident in that. And if you can't, let me know and we'll start a program.
I've always loved your creativity. So, looking back at your journey as a whole, mm-hmm. What is one insider's tip that you could give, or a piece of advice that you could give a nonprofit that are looking to make meaningful impacts in their community?
I would say probably the biggest piece of advice that I could give would be, don't ever lose sight of your mission. That's that ruler that you hold everything else up to. Stick with your mission, don't shift, because the reason everyone loves what you do, where you work, your organization, is because they all believe in the mission. And it's just so important. I've seen so many places that step a little bit outside their mission, and then they keep going. And I think that that's something that's really critical to any nonprofit, whether it's a small or large one, that you really are true to the organization's purpose.
Well, thank you so much, Susan. It's been lovely catching up with you today.
You too.
I'm going to link the website below and Susan's contact information. I encourage people to go to the ball. And I think that, it's just a really interesting and lovely program that you guys are offering. And I hope that more people take advantage of it.
Thank you, Rachel.
Have a lovely day, all.